The Auburn Tigers are the favorite to add this very, very underrated 3-star receiver.
Freezing temperatures are likely for several hours inland and a few hours closer to the coast.
Yahtzee.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. The everydayers know him, Auburn message board legend, Charlie5, celebrating this Charlie Tuesday. And we're talking recruiting, your favorite thing, Charlie5. There's 3 guys that I really, really like that I think will be added to this class soon, and I think we should be excited about it regardless of what their ranking is. And also, we kind of asked the question, is there some things we should be concerned about on the recruiting trail? We'll discuss all that on today's Locked On Auburn. Charlie5, I spent the better part of an hour and a half watching Bryce Cain, the 3-star wide receiver from Baker High School down in Mobile. His tape, every bit of clipped up stuff that I could possibly find on Bryce Cain, I watched it. And man, I just could not get enough of this kid.
Did you breathe heavy while you were watching it? Because I did.
I don't know if I breathed at all, if I'm being honest with you.
No, I think I counted there was 9 or 10 touchdowns and a punt return touchdown, all in his film. No, it's a fun one to go watch. Baker High School, so you don't have to worry about, is he playing small school against small competition? No, it's a big high school in Mobile. It's a Mobile kid.
Yeah,
we like Mobile kids. I really, really like this kid a lot.
Yeah, and I think he really likes Auburn. I was texting with him yesterday morning after I watched his tape, and I'm like,
you can't just drop that like that.
I can't. I just did it. No, I'm texting with this kid, and it's like, your tape's really good. I'm going to write a story on you. And I asked him a few questions, but it's down to Auburn and Ole Miss. But he really, really likes Hugh Freeze, and he really, 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 really likes Marcus Davis. And yes, a few things, and I didn't ask the questions in this direction, but he talked about development and all of his answers. And I'm like, I'm not asking about that, but that's interesting that's important to you. And that's something that they pitched to him. Because all the tape I could find from him in his junior year at Baker last year, he was an outside guy. So I'm like, are they pitching you to play the slot? Because at the camp over the weekend, he was kind of doing a lot of the slot stuff. Christian Clemente put up a lot of videos on Twitter. He did a great job covering that event. But I'm like, so are they pitching you to be a slot guy? And he said, yes. And they think they can develop me to get to the next level as an explosive, speedy slot guy. And I'm like, put that in an IV and inject it in my veins right now.
Yeah. And he's a 5'11" slot guy. So not like a 5'8", 5'9" guy.
Right.
I mean, he's still a bigger slot guy. But look, I talked to a bunch of folks that were at the camp, knew about the camp, talked about the camp. This was the best wide receiver at the camp. That included Cam Coleman. They said, hands down, he never dropped a pass. Nobody could cover him. Walker White, there's some videos of him throwing dimes.
Apparently Walker White just followed him around all day and is like,
just wouldn't let him out of his sight.
Right.
I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure that going into that camp, he had a solidified offer, but I was told once he showed out, Hugh was like, we got to lock this kid up. So they pushed hard. Can we talk about the balcony thing yet?
The balcony crew? Yeah. Break down what the balcony crew is for folks.
Yeah, basically, I didn't notice this when I went to practice, but apparently there's this balcony that overlooks this part of the football facility that overlooks the practice facility.
Right.
And every so often you'd see Hugh take a kid up to the balcony, overlooking and if apparently that's how you close deals up on the balcony. So
hey, come on.
So if you make it to the balcony, you're serious. We like you. We like you a lot. And Bryce Cain spent a lot of time on the balcony, from what I understand.
Yeah, it's like he got all of Auburn's top targets that were there to hang out with each other, just them and Walker and Hugh, and just chopping it up. And some of the recruiting writers that were there were kind of live tweeting it or live posting about it on the message board. And it's like, oh, it looks like Hugh's having a deep conversation with so and so at this point. He's pivoted. He's talking to these 2 guys now. And so I think it's a great strategy, kind of put all the guys that you think is really important together and, all right, go ahead and get the idea of them playing with each other kind of in their mind. I think it's a great sales tactic. Has it worked yet? We'll see if it does.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm fired up about this whole balcony deal, balcony watch, and just seeing who gets taken up there, because that's how we know.
Yeah,
it's serious business time.
Oh, we went up to Hughes balcony. Okay, let's see what happens. Yeah, something else about Bryce Cain though before we fully move away from him, because I think he's going to pick Auburn over Ole Miss. That should happen in the coming days. That'll be exciting to see. And in fact, On3 has adjusted their their prediction machine, I think it's what they call it, to like 99% Auburn, 1% Ole Miss. So that's good. I don't know. I mean, there's other reasons why that's appealing, but yeah, I mean, that's exciting for sure. But one thing I love about Bryce Cain's game is he's very fast, and his stats would be way better if the quarterback didn't underthrow him all the time. I mean, you have a guy beat by 5 yards behind the defense. He's got a knack of getting behind the defense, and it's not just a speed thing. I mean, some of these receivers have a knack for getting behind you and torching you, and it's like, okay, there's 5-10 yards of separation, which is awesome. That's what you want. But when he has the ball in his hands and he's kind of running through the middle of the field, he doesn't always fight to get to the outside. He'll cut inside. He's got that vision and the feel for what's happening around him that you can't really teach to some extent, right? I mean, he's got that natural knack of feeling what's happening around him. And I think it's a very, very underrated. There's a play where it's like an end around where he's lined up kind of where a tight end would be, but it's like a bunch type situation. And they motion him in, and he takes it on like an end around, and he's running it up the middle. And I thought he was going to bounce it outside, and he cut inside. And so, like, you don't see that with a lot of kids that use their speed as their primary weapon. You don't see them cut back inside. And that really, really impressed me.
I like to see anything where you catch the ball beyond the line of scrimmage, and then you're making plays. Like, you see a lot of high school receivers rack up a ton of stats by either catching deep balls, or they'll catch screens behind the line of scrimmage and then make stuff happen. Like when you can catch a slant and then make 2 moves and house it, or you can take a little dig and, make a little head fake pivot and then weave your way through. That's the kind of stuff I like to see. Or, anything where you can catch a ball 10 yards beyond the line of scrimmage and then house it. You're not thinking about
stuff that doesn't necessarily pop up on where it's like you catch it 6 yards down the field, make 2 guys miss, and you house it for 80 yards. But where you move the chains on 2nd and 8, like that stuff doesn't make it on the highlight tape because it's not as flashy. But that's what wins football games, right?
Yes.
And Bryce Cain can do that.
Absolutely. That's why I love watching his film, and I challenge everybody to go watch it, because it is a ton of fun. This kid's going to be an exciting player.
I'm with you. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully he picks Auburn in the coming days. All right. 2 other guys on our radar that we think would be huge if Auburn added to their class in the coming days. We'll discuss that in just a moment right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. You can head over to FanDuel.com/LockedOn now because they're offering a no sweat first bet up to $2,500. Charlie5, has anyone ever sweat at all while betting with FanDuel?
It's impossible.
Not possible. Yeah, it's not possible because right now new customers can get a no sweat first bet up to $2,500. It's free money, Charlie5. What do you have to lose? The answer is nothing. The answer is nothing. So head over to
literally nothing.
We're recording as the NBA finals are going on. Maybe they continue on. Maybe that's your sort of thing. Obviously, Major League Baseball is happening. But really, I bet a lot of the listeners of this show, viewers of this show, are interested in the college football futures. You're starting to see a few lines for Auburn put a win total at 7. FanDuel's not quite there yet, but I have seen it at 7 over the weekend, which is kind of closer to, that's when it starts to get a little tough. If it's at 7.5, it's where it gets a little tough to bet. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But once again, head over to FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get that no sweat first bet. That is FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Charlie5, another guy that I'm really impressed with, and it seems like Auburn will get soon, we hope. DJ Barber, linebacker from Clay Chalkville.
Yes.
6 foot, 230-ish. And He's very athletic. He moves very, very well. He's not the biggest guy. He's 6 foot. It's really hard not to see Deshaun Davis when you watch this kid.
I can see that. Maybe, and he may be a little bit more athletic. If
I think he's quicker than Deshaun was.
If you think, if you can think about what that would be like, a guy an Alabama kid who is got decent size. He's not very tall, but maybe have the same motor as a Deshaun Davis, but be a little bit quicker, a little bit more athletic. I really like him. And this Clay Chalkville is becoming Clay Chalkville is not typically known. Not typically known to start putting out dudes, but they got 3 guys in this class who, I mean, I would be ecstatic if we got all 3. This would be a great pickup is it Josh Aldridge, the linebacker coach?
And he tweeted out kind of a thing the other day that looked like a smoke signal, but wasn't quite.
We got to reel him in. He lets him out a little too quick. I'm just going to go ahead and say it.
Selfishly, I love it. I don't know if it's the best for strategy, but it's like, okay, I'll be excited for no reason on a Tuesday. That's cool. Whatever.
Yeah, but then we have to wait three weeks before.
And it's like, was that it? Was that what he tweeted about 3 weeks ago? I don't know.
No, that'd be a big win for him early in state with a great player, composite 4-star. So if you look at all the different sites, he's averages out to be a 4-star and somebody we really need. And he can make headways.
If he was 6'2", he'd be a 4-star everywhere.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
But he's really good at like engaging contact, like with a blocker, and then getting off of it after he diagnoses the play. Like he's really, really good at that. Very, very patient. Sometimes he'll take a bad angle, especially if it's to the outside, but his athleticism allows him to fight back into the play. You can't do that when you're going up against SEC athletes. So I think that's something to watch, but that's a very easily, I mean, you can coach that out of them in a heartbeat. So lot to like about D'Angelo Barber or DJ Barber. I've seen it listed both places. I don't know which one he prefers. Do you?
I don't.
Yeah, I don't know either. Then the last guy I want to discuss, Malik Blocton, which wish he was an offensive lineman with the last name Blockton. Can we all agree on that? But
it would be pretty sick.
But primarily played a defensive end. You know, he did some stuff where he scooted in a little bit, but he's primarily a defensive end for Pike Road. And
another school that's starting to churn out studs.
Yeah. I don't think he's the most disruptive player, but he doesn't get pushed off the line of scrimmage, which is encouraging. And he seems like a fundamental player. Like he always just kind of does his assignment and he excels. And then when he's in a situation where it's a one-on-one and he's rushing the passer, he wins. I mean, it's as simple as that.
I see this as like a Marcus Harris type guy, 6'2", play around maybe 6'2", 6'3", play around maybe like 290-ish. And
that'd be great.
You're sort of just you're a steady defensive end that's not going to have a bunch of flashy stats, but you're able to like stall at the point of attack and be able to disrupt offensive line and running lanes, and then let linebackers make plays. So like this is a guy. We need several of these dudes. We need several of these 6'3", 270, 280, 290 type kids.
Well, and I recorded a show yesterday with Jason Jones. We'll put that segment up on the show later this week. But one of the things we talk about is like a lot of these dudes on the defensive line now are playing multiple positions. We didn't really see that over the last few years at Auburn. But, Jason can play that nose and that 3 technique. Marcus Harris, there was conversations, is he a 3 technique or a defensive end? Keldrick Falk, is he a jack or is he a defensive end? Messiah Nasili Kite, I mean, he's a 3 tech and he's a defensive end. I mean, all of these guys are doing different things on the defensive front. And I think that's what Coach Jeremy Garrett, the defensive line coach, and Ron Roberts and Hugh Freeze, I think that's what they want. And also that's what the NFL wants. So you're gonna raise your stock so the players are excited to do it. It makes you more available. I mean, how many times have we seen like one position group kind of get hurt where 2 guys go down? All of a sudden it's like, well, dang, who else could play that position? Right. This kind of helps you a little bit because you're building depth, even though you may not have as many dudes that you feel comfortable with. But all of a sudden, if so many guys can play multiple positions, I think that's something. And I think Blockton could have the size to play defensive end or scoot inside if you need him to.
Absolutely. He's got the frame. He's a really wide shouldered kid. So
he's got room to put weight on.
He could be 300. He could be a 300, guy.
I think he's like 260 right now. And it's like, he needs to be bigger than that, but he will be by the time he's got another year of high school football. So he'll get there.
Speaking of bigger, have we talked about Keldrick Falk and how massive he is now? Have we addressed that? Has that been addressed? Or can it be addressed enough?
That guy is a freak, man. Like,
the roster came out. They added a bunch of guys. They don't have numbers for everybody, but the latest roster came out and had updated height and weight. And he's like, what, 6'6", 280?
He's 280 now? Well, they weighed him. He weighed at 270 in that All-American thing. And I'm like, really? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to lie about his weight down there when they took it. So that's awesome. Good for him. And he just moves so well. Like, it's stupid how well he moves at that size. Oh, yeah. And he's like 18. Get out of here.
He's a child.
Get out of here with that.
Hulking super team for sure.
Dude, the 3 big freshmen in this class, and it's weird that we don't count Jeremiah Cobb in those, but like the Connor Liu, the Kane Lee, and the Keldrick Falks, like those guys can be special, dude. Those guys can be special, and we probably should put Jeremiah Cobb in those guys. I mean, all 4 of those dudes are going to be players for us for the next 3 years. Like, and I think we'll only have them all for 3 years, which is a shame, but hopefully that's long enough for Hugh to kind of get the recruiting classes flowing where, you know, we can reload.
I hope all of our high school guys are here 3 years. That means we got a bunch of ballers. So I'll take that. We'll figure it out.
Let's go. All right. You posed a question to me off air earlier today. Is there a problem? Should we be concerned? Do we need to make some theories for things? We discuss in just a moment right here on Locked On Auburn. I want to encourage you to join the Locked On Auburn Discord. It is free. All you have to do is click the link in the episode description down below. There's never any arguments, never any fights. It's always just love. We all love each other as Auburn people. So join. All you have to do is click that link in the episode description down below. Once again, it is free. And a very nice guy that everybody likes named Tyler will take care of you. No one ever argues with him or anything. It's great.
There's a little bit of rough talking. We have some good old-fashioned rough talking sometimes.
It gets pretty rowdy. Let's just be honest. It gets rowdy sometimes. But Charlie5, you posed a question like, okay, a lot of official visits, a lot of unofficial visits. Hugh Freeze is casting as wide of a net as you possibly can as far as, and his staff. It's not just him. It's his whole staff. Like, they're everywhere. Should the commits be coming in yet? And I've asked this question pretty much every week to Brian Smith, the Locked On Recruiting Insider. He says, hold on, wait till the end of June. It's like, all right, we've got a few weeks till that happens.
Yeah.
And that's still my stance on it, Charlie5, because I think all 3 of these kids will be in the class by the end of the month. We'll see. But what are your thoughts on it? I mean, are you concerned at all yet?
It's not really that I'm concerned. I'm sort of confused because the people that I talked to about this weekend say that the level of talent that was here this weekend and the organization and the hype and the excitement was like nothing that they've seen in many, many years. And I feel like we hear that so often, but yet the results are just dragging out so long.
Right.
And it's not so much that I'm worried, but I'm confused as to why that is. Like, is the program just like in a spot where Hugh is just going to have the results to sort of sell it? Like, you can only say so much, but like, are you going to have to show these, the Cam Colemans that you can have 1,000-yard receiver, or is everybody waiting? Are they just wanting to wait and see how things play out? Or is it just literally hey, let's get June out of the way, get a whole bunch of official visits because they're having just crazy amount of talent. I mean, like, today's Tuesday, Cam Coleman's on campus, LJ McCray is on campus, Daniel Calhoun's on campus, Jaden Lewis, all these big-time guys. There's a big-time DB from Parkview High School. His name escapes me that was here this past weekend. Like, all these big-time guys are here, but they're not pulling the trigger. And I don't know. Which is
what we said a year ago, right? I mean,
it is. It's very, very similar to what we said a year ago.
I think we certainly trust what's happening more, like we trust the pitch more, right?
Sure.
So I'm not worried yet. In fact, that thought didn't really cross my mind until you asked the question, if I'm being honest with you. But I do think there's going to be a lot of guys that Auburn's going to have to flip when it's all said and done. I mean, especially several of these Bama commits that they've been really, really courting throughout the whole process.
Sure. And that
because I think if you win 8 games, all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah,
right.
okay, yeah, they are telling me the truth. Like they're not selling me a bunch of crap. Like I can commit here, I can win here, I can go to the league here. But
right,
and I don't know if Auburn's going to do that this season. Like I think they'll win 7. I don't feel good about 8, but it certainly could happen. And if they do, like all of a sudden you either beat LSU or you beat Alabama or you beat somebody you're quote unquote not supposed to. And then, maybe you're able to get a flip or two, and which is what we saw a year ago when he didn't do any of that.
Yeah. I think there's going to be this one recruit who's going to be the catalyst. And I thought it would be Walker White, but I'm wondering if he's so far away, like in Arkansas and whatnot, that it's hard for him to connect all the way, connect with some of the guys around state of Alabama and Georgia. So I don't know who that kid is yet. But I feel like there's just one guy that if he just pulls the trigger, I honestly feel like it could be if Cam Coleman would pull the trigger and commit. I don't think it's going to happen.
All the smoke over the last week has been FSU's trending for Cam Coleman, Auburn's slipping for Cam Coleman. Like I don't know if that's panic or what. Like I don't know if that's even real because Cam Coleman's been like remarkably quiet about his recruitment. And then it's like the people close to him are like, it'd be Auburn if he had to pick today. It's like, well, that's encouraging. That's great. But until like he does something, like I just don't know how much we can put stock into that.
And, it could always be that you're sort of setting things up to be a like run of commitments. So you have like this constant wave of momentum. So you could see something like that. Like there could be an offensive lineman that pops this weekend on an official visit. And then
wouldn't you have wanted to see something this past weekend?
I think so. If that
was the case,
I really will. At least one, and then start rolling like one every few days or every week or so.
Don't do it all at once, Hugh. Like it's a long summer. Don't do it all at once.
We need some action.
Let's spread it out. A little seasoning here and there, please. Thank you.
I want to make one more point about the guys that are committing. So Bryce Cain, or I say we hope to commit soon. Bryce Cain, that kid's not going to be a 3-star for very long. When you take kids in June that are 3 stars or like low 4 stars, you don't worry because those are guys that the coach has singled out, that the coach wants, that the coach has evaluated. And a lot of times you'll see dudes like that end up over the summer camp series, like when you go do all these recruiting site camp, the On3 camps, the Rivals camps, the Under Armour's camp, all that stuff. When you start doing that, that's when you start 7-on-7s. That's when you see recruiting rankings starting to blow up. So I wouldn't necessarily worry about, hey, why are we only taking 3 stars or junk like that? Because when you take 3 stars early, more than likely they're not going to be 3 stars for very long, or there's somebody the coaches want really bad. And right now he's giving me no reason not to trust him. So I trust you with his evaluations. Yeah. I mean, like when I was watching Bryce's stuff, it's like, you're telling me there's 78 receivers better than him? Like, I don't believe you. There wasn't a single receiver better than him. And we had a 5-star on campus on this past weekend. So yeah, I mean I'm not buying it. I'm not buying all that. So, is it because he's not 6 foot? Is it because his stats were limited because his quarterback, can't throw it, as far as he can run? Like it's weird to me. It's just I don't know. I think watching dust folks though. I know that. No question. No question about it. So we'll see. And I've got a player comp that when we get them, I'll share what that is. So we'll see. Sure. We'll see. Charlie5, how can people give you some love and check out everything you've got going on? Absolutely. Find me on Twitter at _Charlie_5. You can find me in the Locked On Auburn Discord, rough talking nearly every single day, or on Auburn Live, the corner message board, or weekly on the Dad Pod Golf Pod. Be sure to tune in to Locked On Auburn this week. Got a text, and I think we've got a really solid guest, all but confirmed, to appear later this week that I think people will enjoy. I want to record it before I announce it, so we'll see. But I just don't want to get burned. But yeah, so be sure to stay tuned for the show every day this week to see when that drops. But follow me on socials at Zac Blackerby, all my written work at auburndaily.com. And this has been Locked On Auburn.